Russia's invasion, the wars that on it.
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Maxine Peak.
Nice to meet you, Maxine. Thank you for stopping by to speak today about Words of War. So tell me, how was it like to play a journalist under fire in a war zone?
Well, it was an honor to play somebody as inspirational as Anna Politkovskaya. So yeah, I mean, it was it was a profound experience to be able to delve into her world and a woman who was so brave and so inspiring and a beacon, really.
Yeah. Tell me about some of the research that you did to understand your character while you were reading the script and then getting a sense of what her environment was like for the film.
A lot. Anna wrote amazing books, The Russian Diaries. She was, she reported about extremely important issues, and of course she was prolific in Chechnya. But one thing I found as well was how beautiful her writing was, how engaging she was. She was an extraordinary journalist. It wasn't just about putting herself in danger. It was then about her creativity within, her writing, her ability to connect with an audience. So lots of reading, thank goodness for the internet in many ways, lots of, but it was reading more about the, Putin regime, finding more about what was going on in Chechnya, and all the time you think you know about these issues, and then you start to realise you know very little, and you're just scratching the surface. So it was lots of reading, lots of watching, interviewing journalists who are working today. Oddly, I started bumping into people I knew who knew her or knew relatives, so it was just collating all this sort of information to try and build a picture of this extraordinary woman.
Are you seeing correlations with today's day and age of journalism and the journalism that's seen in the film for what happened in Russia, people being afraid to speak up, people being afraid to announce the truth? What are your thoughts on the journalism then and the journalism now?
Well, 2024 was the most dangerous year to be a journalist. Over 1,000 journalists were murdered. So I think now more than ever, being a journalist then was risky. Being a journalist now is even more risky. So we have got to fight. And when you look what's happening, how many journalists have been murdered in Gaza. There's people, you've still got Ciaran Akla, who still hasn't. Anybody has been prosecuted for a murder. She was shot in plain sight, wearing clearly a press vest when she was at one of the Jenin refugee camps in Turkey, in Yemen, in Pakistan. All around the world, and it will be. It's getting closer to home. It's getting a lot. Obviously Russia, we know, but the press are under a lot of pressure here.
It's been a little while. I was in Toronto and interviewed you for Death of Stalin many years ago. Yeah, but once again, we're back to Russia, just in a different time period.
Slightly different mood, slightly different tone of the film, but no less important. Well, Death of Stalin, albeit it's hilarious, is a cautionary tale about what an autocrat looks like. Yeah. And we don't need to look quite as far as Russia to see the springs of the shoots growing right now, not far from where we stand.
Right, and Words of War, premiering here today in New York. How are you feeling walking into this film and portraying the character Sasha?
Well, the character I portrayed some time ago, I think it's a powerful film. And I think I just came from Washington Correspondents' Dinner this weekend where they didn't have a comedian, they didn't have the president, and so they could focus on the most important thing, which is the power and importance of a free press in a democracy. And this is a cautionary tale about what happens. It's an inspiring story about an amazing woman and what she did standing up, speaking the truth to power and telling the Russians what was being done in their name. Then in Chechnya and now in Ukraine. But it's also a tale for us to look around and see what's happening to us and what freedoms are being curtailed and taken away from us, because once you lose them, you never get them back.
Yeah. How do you end up doing it? Because you're so busy working like so many different projects at once. How do you work your schedule around to go from White Lotus to this to other projects? I feel like you have 5 or 6 movies coming out.
The producer's a friend of mine. Her father was one of the founders of the ANC, the white founder. He had to flee South Africa when his friends being blown up and killed. Yeah. She is a powerful activist herself, and she said, you have to be in this film. It's about something. And so I carved out a week, and they packed all my scenes in morning till night.
Yeah. On a personal note, I also wanted to say thank you so much for wearing the ribbon to other things.
I can't believe it's the first time I've been on a red carpet since the hostages were taken. I think without my pin, I wish I had my yellow pin here. I don't know how the world's press and the world seems to have forgotten these innocent people, mostly peace activists, who are being held in tunnels, starved and tortured and beaten and raped and executed, and that they seem to have been lost in the conversation. I wish I had my badge here tonight.
Well, I mean, just even commenting on it is something that's extremely important because the hostages need to come home. Myself being of Jewish heritage, I respect that, and I thank you for being a voice in Hollywood for it.
Well, but Jewish or not, there are people on the streets every week, millions of them around the world, campaigning from compassion, they think. Then where are their signs for the hostages? Where are their signs to release these innocent people?
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me about it today.
Thank you.
We're here at the premiere of Words of War, speaking with
Ben Miles.
Mr. Miles. It's good to see you. Big fan of V for Vendetta, and here we are talking about the media again. Have you slipped back into the role like you did in V for Vendetta?
Yeah, it's interesting. I seem to be playing people involved in the media. That role was fantastic, and it was a great movie, and it's wonderful to work with the Wachowskis. That role was fiction. This role is factual, an actual person who actually worked and wrote and actually was assassinated by the Russian authorities eventually. So this is a really important movie for me, and it's a really important story I think that should be told to people, and I hope people take away inspiration, take away the desire to question what they're told. It's a really important movie. V for Vendetta was great for so many other reasons. It's a story like this one, but as I say, sadly, or more importantly, this one is set in a real situation with actual people, characters, and it's an honor to be here. It's really great to be in the United States at this time, trying to connect with people who still thirst for truth and debate and intelligent argument amidst the world we're living in today.
Yeah, wonderfully said. And it's interesting when you were talking about your character as a historical, real, factual character. What kind of research did you do to embody the role, learning about the character from what you could from the resources that were available?
Yeah, what I could. There's not a lot on this character. There's really not much. There's certainly not much Russian information about these people. They've kind of been erased from history. Surprise, surprise. But I read what I could, and you kind of empathize with the people that you're playing, and you read up about the story, about the history of the time, and then you just do the best you can, really. It's a curious job playing real people. I kind of played a lot of actual real people in my career, and it's kind of an act of that's remembrance. But you're mindful of kind of honouring the memory of the person, and of course the families who survived that person. There are relatives of my character around us. There are relatives of all the characters in the show. So it was great fun shooting. Jim Strong's a great director. It's a wonderful cast, and I'm really thankful that it's been picked up by the producers here. But it was a serious job too. We had fun, but it was we've got a serious point to make here.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Tell me about what you love most about creating this project.
I think it's a really important story to tell, and I'm really pleased that Anna's story hopefully will come to a bigger, wider audience who maybe don't know what happened to her and what she did or what she achieved. And also I think it's a really important moment that reminds us of the importance of a free press, and that that our journalists are protected and looked after and valued as a really important contribution to society.
As this will be premiering on World Press Day, do you feel like this film will resonate with journalists in today's climate, which may feel like they're under fire from the current administration, possibly?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult time for the media, for journalists particularly, but I think we have to hope that this sort of film shows the importance of journalism and its place in a free press, and that the journalists are not afraid to do their work, and you can do it without fear of reprisals. It's really important.
So Sean Penn is an executive producer on this project. Tell me about how you and him linked up to make this film, and how you and him decided that you were right to direct this project.
Well, Sean came on afterwards, after the film had been shot and stuff, but he saw a cut and wanted to support it, and has been a great champion of the film since he came on board, and we're thrilled to have him on board. I am as well, because I was a massive Sean Penn fan. Yeah. So he's one of the reasons I'm standing here anyway. So to have him and my name and the two of us on the same project is a great. So I'm thrilled.
Sure. So my last question for you is about the historical research that you had to do in order to make sure that the context of the film was accurate and to put it on screen. So could you tell me a little bit about how you dived into that to make sure it was authentic from what happened with history?
Well, of course, there's lots of resources you can look at when you're researching a film, and obviously Anna wrote several books, so they were the first kind of place to look at. But also, you just do your homework. You look at all the sources, all the library sources, all the archive footage, all the interviews, and also we went that level of veracity we wanted throughout the whole film. So the production design, the costumes, every single element, we wanted to make it as authentic as possible, but also accessible to a widespread audience.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on this film and the premiere here in New York, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much. Thrilled to be here.
Just how was your experience working on the film?
Yeah, it was great. From the first moment I got a script, it was something that I knew was going to be special. And yeah, from the moment we had the read through with everyone in Soho, it was already like, we've got something special here, and then going over to Latvia to film it. It's a film that kind of comes with a big punch and a lot of gravity, and sadly it's obviously more relevant now than ever. So yeah.
How was filming in Latvia? It sounds like a very exotic, interesting country to go and explore.
Yeah, really interesting place, probably somewhere that I would never have gone had I not been a part of this, but great food, but besides the point, it was, I think the reason why partially it was shot there, the architecture is very similar to what Moscow was 20 years ago. So, it really, felt that it was minus 15 or something ridiculous like that. So really, it was great. Obviously, as an actor, you're walking in, one of my scenes, first scene, kind of walking through the snow, and it was like, we've arrived. So that was great.
Tell me about how you were able to discover and flesh out your character. So you were reading about it. How did you put the words on the page into your own personality trait to put in front of camera?
Yeah, the little things like the build-up for it. I kind of went on quite a strict diet to kind of cut down for the role because of obviously how malnourished these young men were. So that was the kind of just intro into it really, but other than just kind of doing that, reading the script every single day, and it, so much of the work's done for you when you're kind of obviously in a scene with Maxine Peak, it's all, all the hard work's done really, so you can just kind of just let her do the work and just kind of soak all that up, which is great.
It's interesting that you mentioned being malnourished in order for your role to capture it. So think of like The Machinist and how Christian Bale got down to like 90 pounds. How did you do that to cut so much weight to look malnourished on camera?
Can of tuna, broccoli, and a few dates, coffee. That's about it.
And that's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
How many pounds did you drop?
I don't know. I was something like 63, 64 kg or something. So quite light when I was over there.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's intense for actors that are looking to see how to cut down for that type of role.
Not fun, but anyway, important. Just part of it really. Not trying to make anything of it, but it was just felt kind of necessary to do it really. But yeah.
I'm incredibly excited because this has been a 7-year journey from pitching the story to writing the script to all of the ups and downs and ins and outs of financing, and then finally getting to shoot it, and then shooting it and editing it, and then getting it out into the world. And this is the first night it's going to get out in the world. It's an amazing story. It's an inspiring story. It's a story about our times, for our times, and it celebrates a woman who is dedicated to telling the truth.
Tell me about how you connected with the subject matter and then why it was so.
I stumbled across her story accidentally years ago, and then when it wasn't until, and I tucked the idea away in my idea file, thinking this will be a good movie, maybe, possibly. And then I had a meeting at Good Films, and they said we want to do a story about a strong female protagonist. And I thought, Anna's a strong female protagonist. But the timing was good because at that time Trump had just been elected. He'd been 2 years in office, and he was cozying up to Putin. And he was also saying things like the press is the enemy of the people. Well, that's what Stalin used to say. And Stalin even used this expression, anyone who propagates false news is an enemy of the people. Well, Trump took that and turned it just a little bit into from false to fake. And so there's a lineage there between a dictator like Stalin and someone like Trump. And I won't say Trump is a dictator, but I will say he's dictator curious. And so Honest Story, I think, directly addresses what's happening right now in the United States. We have someone who would really who'd love to follow in the path of authoritarians like Putin, like Mao.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to sort of build that firewall against it.